What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. It's watchlist time for Game Week 3, and there is an incredible amount of transfers being made at the moment. Obviously, FPL managers are very active, huge amount of transfers in, huge amount of transfers out, and there's a lot of players on my mind as well. So in this one, there's 5 players that I'm going to go through that I'm considering either this week or in the coming weeks that I've got my eye on that have impressed this weekend or that we should be looking at buying. So if you do enjoy these videos, please do give them a like. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Let's try and get to 125k by the end of the season, and let's jump into this one. So I've cheated a little bit on the first one because I put De Bruyne and Sterling there as kind of one player, mostly because they're 11.5 million. I'm not looking to get rid of Salah, so I can only afford one. And like many people, I've thought about doing the Aubameyang out transfer for one of these two. So these two firmly on the watch list, and obviously going to watch the Wolves game tonight with great interest because I want to know who looks the best with Aguero out of the team. Now, straight away, my initial thoughts are to go to Sterling, right? And it's not necessarily because I think he's going to play false 9 every game, because I do think Gabriel Jesus will get a good few games under his belt and be the main striker, right? They don't play with false 9 as much as people talk about. But if he does come off after like 60, 70 minutes or whatever it might be, Sterling could go more central and that could help him. Plus, he's just a good option from the left anyway. Basically, wherever he plays, he gets loads of points. And his away form was pretty decent last year. So if you look at the next 4 fixtures, Leeds away in Game Week 4 and West Ham away in Game Week 6, potentially he could be a good captaincy option. I don't tend to lock my captaincy options in this early, like I will think about them, but until it comes to the actual game week, I'm not going to decide who to go for. So West Ham away, if they keep being so poor defensively, and there's still talk about Declan Rice leaving, by the way, and that could be really good for Sterling there. And Leeds away again, they came up from the Championship with a good record defensively, but this is the Premier League and they have struggled so far to shut out the goals. Maybe they will improve as the season goes on. But if they play like they did against Liverpool, then that's going to eat into Man City's hands on the counter, on the break, etc. Just playing through them is going to be super good for Man City because Leeds pushed up quite a bit against Liverpool, which is how they got their goals, of course. But also it let Liverpool come through as well and get plenty of goals themselves. So that could be good for Man City. Now, which one of these two to go for? Now, straight away, like I said, with Jesus coming in, Aguero going out, you suddenly think that Sterling's going to be the main goal scorer. He was at the back end of last season, and his stats are always good. Like, his underlying numbers are ridiculous for open play potential goals. And we know he's more likely to score than De Bruyne, but you have to factor in penalties as well. With Aguero out, De Bruyne could have been on penalties anyway, but with Aguero out, he almost certainly is the #1 penalty taker. And we've already seen plenty of them in the league so far. And Man City have the type of players on the wings coming into the box, a bit like Man United, to win penalties as well. With the new handball rule, there could be even more. And I am struggling to look past Kevin De Bruyne. I'm not expecting him to get as many assists as he did last year. That was a pretty incredible season. But even if he drops down to like 15 and still has like, what, 6 or 7 goals plus from open play, and then you add in penalties as well, he could have another incredible season. So between these two, it's quite tight. It's really, for me, it's how much do you back against the penalties. If you think they're going to get a lot, I just go to De Bruyne. If you don't, then I think Sterling, because although De Bruyne is going to get a lot of returns, Sterling's going to get more goal returns, and they are worth way more than assists as well. So both of these firmly on the watch list. Probably one of them coming in this week. I'm quite tempted to go Sterling, but right now it's probably on De Bruyne. So Reece James is now firmly on the watch list. For anyone that watched my final draft video, which I did ultimately change, it was a bit annoying. Reece James was in the team, and the reason I took him out was I expected some points against Brighton, although to be honest I expected them in the form of a clean sheet, not an assist from a corner and a goal from about 20 yards, but it did happen. Great points, didn't get anything against Liverpool, but that doesn't really put me off because they were down to 10 men. What really excites me about him is the fact that he even started that Liverpool game in a back 4, not even a back 5, which is what happened last season. And Azpilicueta, as far as I know, is fit, and he was on the bench again. Now, there's been lots of talk about him being phased out, and yet over the last few seasons, he's played an incredible amount of minutes, pretty much every single minute when he's been fit. But 2 starts in a row for Reece James, Azpilicueta on the bench for both of them. And the fact he played Alonso as well, I thought there was a chance that Azpilicueta might come left and James plays right, or vice versa, and Alonso would go out of the team against Liverpool. But that is not what happened, and that is very, very promising. Now, if I was on a wild card this week, I'd 100% go for him. There is the risk, of course, that Azpilicueta comes in at some point. But for 5.1 million in that Chelsea team, he offers a great potential value, essentially. Now, for me, just because of the way my team's set up, I have this watch list, but obviously it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to bring them in that week. And for me, because I've got other transfers to make, I'm probably going to hold off one more week. The beauty of that is you get to see whether he starts again, and also whether they get a new goalkeeper as well. Because while Kepa is in the team, I do worry about the amount of clean sheets Chelsea are going to get. But West Brom away, Crystal Palace at home, Southampton at home, looks like 3 great fixtures. And even after Man United away, the clean sheet potential is definitely there with the fixtures they have. So there's lots of talk about Mendy coming in as a goalkeeper for Chelsea. It looks like it's close to being finalised. We'll have to wait and see how quickly that happens. And even if he does come in this week, there's no guarantee he goes straight into the team. But from game week 4 onwards, hopefully they won't have Kepa. And I think at this point I'm feeling a little bit sorry for Kepa, to be completely honest, because he must have been a pretty good keeper to spend that much money on him. It's just not gone his way. And the more and more these mistakes happen, the more and more it's in your head. So he kind of just needs to be taken out of the team for a little bit to not keep making these mistakes. Obviously, the one for Mane's goal against Liverpool was pretty awful as well. So I think once they get a new goalkeeper in, and once their team is kind of settled, because they are missing a few key players, even if they're not defensive-minded ones, Reece James, if he keeps starting, 5.1. I think I said it pre-season, he'll be one of the best value players in the game, and I'm eyeing him up from game week 4 onwards. So Son is definitely the one that got away from me, but I don't want to have that kind of grudge against him now, but because I got rid of him, I can't ever bring him back. So he was in my game week 1 pre-season team, and I swapped him out at 10.59 for Pulisic. And then if you watch my team selection last week, I even talked about bringing him back in for Pulisic. In the end, I went for James Rodriguez to save a bit of money. And to be honest, when he got me 12 points, I wasn't too bothered about not going for Son. But for Son to get 4 goals, absolutely incredible. And I did say a few times last week that you should maybe look at holding Southampton away. Then he had Newcastle and West Ham as well after that. So for me, the fixtures just look incredible. So next 4, Newcastle, West Ham, Burnley, right? Burnley away could be tricky, but it depends how many of their first choice centre-backs they're missing. Obviously, Man United could be difficult, but they didn't do very well against Crystal Palace. So Spurs and Mourinho will know that and will look to attack them. And then after this, they got something like Brighton and West Brom as well. So 5 of their next 6 fixtures are extremely good. And obviously, he's gone down in price to 8.9. Now he's back up to 9 million. I don't think it's a knee-jerk to go for him. Obviously, you have to have in the back of your head that he's not going to score 4 goals every single game. In fact, he may not even score 4 goals for the next 4 games. But with the amount of assists he could get, with the amount of goals, like it's what he does. He just gets returns. I talked about this pre-season. I know there's all this talk about him playing wide and stuff post-lockdown, but when he plays, he gets points. And for 9 million, he could be an absolute bargain this year. I've even considered bringing him in ahead of De Bruyne or Sterling and having some money to spend elsewhere. So I'm definitely not against doing that. Whether or not I actually go through with it this week again, I'm going to have to check on my captaincies and who I want to bring in. And obviously, I know that other teams might sit a bit deeper. Like Southampton play quite a high defensive line. Newcastle, teams like this, Man United, they could sit a little bit deeper. Probably not Man United, but Newcastle in particular could do that. There might not be so much space in behind, but he has the quality to get through. And if they do persist with more of a 4-3-3 instead of 4-2-3-1, he might not have the kind of defensive responsibilities and have to play so wide. And we saw that Kane is brilliant at distributing the ball. So for Son and eventually Gareth Bale to be going through on goal from the other side, there could be a lot of goals on the counter for Spurs. We know that Mourinho kind of likes to play like that too. So I think Son looks like a really good bet. For anyone that's looking to buy him this week, ignore the knee-jerk, ignore the fact you're not going to get the 4 goals. He's still going to get points over the next 4. Looks a great buy and firmly on my watch list. So Gabriel Jesus up last. Now, as soon as one of Aguero or Jesus gets injured, the other one suddenly becomes a great option because you know they're going to get the minutes. There'll be a lot of talk, like I said earlier on, about false 9, Sterling playing false 9, Gundogan playing false 9, Edison probably playing false 9. It very rarely happens. Last season, before Aguero got injured at the end of the season, I think it happened twice. And one of those, Jesus was injured as well, or at least out of the squad for whatever reason. So it doesn't happen as often as people talk about. Gabriel Jesus is probably going to play probably every game, I would say, until Aguero is back, depending on what the fixture pile-up looks like and when Aguero is actually back. So I think for 9.5 million is a great option. Is he as good a finisher as Aguero? No. Does that matter when you play for Man City? Probably not. His expected goal involvement last year per 90 minutes, I think was over 0.8, which is absolutely insane. In fact, I think for the season, per 90 minutes, it was ahead of Aguero. Like I said, he's not as good a finisher, but he gets so many chances. He's not a bad finisher either, by the way. When you're not Aguero's level, it doesn't make you a bad player. And he's going to get so many chances, and he creates a lot of chances as well. I think he's a great buy, honestly. Now, would I like to have Sterling and Jesus? Absolutely. For my particular team, it's very hard to fit both of them in without getting rid of another big hitter. If you had an easy way to do it or you're on wildcard, I'd absolutely recommend Jesus. I think there's pretty good fixtures to come. We know how many goals Man City score, first of all, and you get to watch the Wolves game first to see what happens. I don't know how much we can really get from the Wolves game, by the way, because they are a pretty good defensive team. So if City don't score, it's not like City are bad. It's just one of those things. But I think 9.5 million, he has to be on my watch list now. I do have a consideration to go for someone like Mahrez or Son to then get Jesus as well and skip De Bruyne or Sterling. That's something that's on my mind. But like I said, as soon as one of Aguero or Jesus is out, unless they buy another striker, there is still time. I think the transfer window is open until the 5th of October. And bearing in mind, we thought Aguero would be back, maybe even for Real Madrid in the Champions League. It didn't happen, and now all of a sudden he's out for another 1 to 2 months. That's pretty crazy, and I wonder if there's something more there we're not being told about. So keep an eye on the transfer market. If they go out for another player, then maybe Jesus isn't such a good option. But as it stands right now, I would expect him to start most games, get plenty of chances, and more importantly, get plenty of points as well. That is it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give it a like and subscribe if you're new around here. Trying to hit that 125k now. That's the new target by the end of the season. And let me know in the comments below, what do you think of my watch list? And more importantly, who is on your watch list? I know there's loads of players that have been doing really well, so let me know in the comments below. I was going to do a quick shout out. So I usually do my Patreon shout out on streams only, but I'm going to start doing it on every single video basically. So I have this Patreon Legends wall, and this is everyone that's signed up to Patreon. So anyone that signed up gets on the wall, and they're now going to get shouted out on every stream and every single video as well. So here's everyone that signed up, and all the new people that have signed up since the last stream, so since Sunday's stream: Marcus P, Ryan D, Benjamin S, Alexandros V, Malay D, Leo, and Jim A as well. So thanks very much for signing up. If you haven't already, make sure you check it out below, patreon.com/letstalkfpl. There's 3 different tiers basically. So there's shout outs, team reveals, Slack, extra content as well, plus WhatsApp. So make sure you check that out in the link in the description below. Otherwise, I'll catch you again soon for another video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow for the team selection video.